In Activity 6, Rain and Snow, students learn how tiny water droplets become raindrops in clouds and discover that precipitation can fall as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. They then use a rain gauge to measure rainfall and discuss severe storms and how to stay safe in severe weather. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 6, a pitcher, and a rain gauge. You will also need to provide tap water. To prepare for Session 1, make a copy of Activity Sheet 6 for each student. Begin on a rainy day. To begin Session 1, remind students that in the last activity they learned about clouds. They should recall that flat, gray clouds bring rain. Ask students, what is it like when it rains? They should answer that drops of water fall from the sky. Everything gets wet. Puddles form, and that we have to stay inside or wear raincoats to keep dry. Then, explain that all living things need water to survive. Rain waters plants, gives animals water to drink, and also supplies the water that people use. Students should note that clouds always accompany rain. Ask students, what does this tell you about where rain comes from? Students may guess correctly that rain falls from the clouds. Remind them that clouds are made of lots of tiny drops of water. Explain that the drops of water in the clouds join to form bigger drops. When the drops become large and heavy enough, the air can no longer hold them up and they fall out of the clouds to the ground as raindrops. Next, explain that rain, snow, sleet, and hail are all kinds of water that fall to the earth from clouds. We call these kinds of falling water precipitation. Then ask, how are rain, snow, sleet, and hail different? Guide students to understand that rain is water drops, snow is frozen ice crystals, sleet is rain that freezes as it falls, and hail is frozen ice chunks. Go on to explain that precipitation is part of the water cycle. Review that water on Earth's surface goes into the air as water vapor, rises and cools, changing back to water droplets that form clouds, and falls to the ground again as precipitation. Ask students, what happens then? What happens to rainwater after it falls? Lead students to understand that some of the rain soaks into the ground, and some flows downhill across the land into streams and rivers, which then flow into lakes and oceans. In time, the water goes into the air and the water cycle continues. Now ask, how could we measure how much rain falls during a rainstorm or rain shower? Students might suggest putting out a can to collect water or seeing how deep a puddle is. Show students the rain gauge and explain that a rain gauge measures how much rain falls at a certain place over a period of time. Ask students, how do you think this tool works? They should notice that it is a clear, open container with a scale of numbers and lines. It has a pointed end that sticks into the ground and holds the gauge upright. Students should be able to tell that rain will collect inside, and the numbers on the rain gauge measure the amount of rainfall in inches. Fill a pitcher with tap water. Pour different amounts of water into the gauge and challenge students to read the rain gauge. Demonstrate filling the rain gauge to 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch depths. Next, take students outside and have them help you choose a site to set up the rain gauge. The rain gauge needs to be positioned where nothing is in the way of falling raindrops and where it can stay undisturbed. Each day for 5 days, take the class outside to measure the amount of rainwater that has collected in the rain gauge. Have students record the information on the activity sheet. Remind students that there may be days on which no rain falls. They should record that information on their activity sheets as well. To conclude Session 1, have students empty and dry out the rain gauge after each measurement. To prepare for Session 2, students will need their copies of Activity Sheet 6. To begin Session 2, have students compare the daily rainfall and answer the questions at the bottom of their activity sheets. Ask students, what kinds of showers brought rain the past few days? Storms may have been long and gentle or brief and heavy. There could have been drizzle or steady rain. Now ask, what kinds of storms bring weather that can be dangerous to us? Students may name thunderstorms, tornadoes, or hurricanes. Accept all answers. If your location has cold, snowy winters, students may also mention blizzards. Display the current weather calendar and any you have completed from previous months. Invite students to point to some of the days on which it rained or snowed. Ask students, does the same amount of rain fall in each week? They will see that some weeks it doesn't rain at all, and other weeks it may rain every day. Confirm that weather, including rainfall, changes from day to day. Point out that generally the temperature and rainfall follow a pattern that repeats each year. Temperatures and rainfall amounts are likely to be greater in one season compared with another. Finally, tell students that in Activity 7, Seasons, they will find out about how weather can change from season to season. To conclude Session 2, empty and dry the rain gauge and return it to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.